This is Drawing is Thinking, Lesson 3, Part 4. We're working on our chair puzzles. If you're having a hard time, let me give you a couple of hints, and after each hint you can pause and see if that helps you figure out the puzzle before continuing on with the video and seeing the solution. My first hint is to spend a lot more time looking at your reference photo, your puzzle reference, and hold your pieces up to it and just kind of see where they might fit. Compare lengths and edges. See if you can find a spot where the shapes might fit. That's hint number 1. So if you want to work with that for a minute, pause and see if that helps you get the solution to the puzzle. Hint number 2 is the black shapes, your puzzle pieces, are not part of the chair. They are not the chair. So that was hint number 2. Hint number 3 is going to be more obvious, so you can pause here if you want to work on your puzzle before getting our last hint. So here we go, hint number 3, the last hint and the most obvious. We'll use this piece that I was showing you earlier. It fits right here, so I can take that and transfer that corner right here into my rectangle. Now I'm going to assemble my puzzle and show you what the finished solved puzzle looks like. And then we're going to talk about how this can help you to draw, because this is a drawing class after all. And here we have it, the completed puzzle. So let's take a closer look at what is going on here. Maybe it was hard to see in the time lapse because it was moving so fast, but you'll notice that when I was doing the puzzle, I held it up to the reference image in order to figure out exactly where it went. Of course, the corners make it easier, as with jigsaw puzzles, in order to find the right spot. But as with a lot of art, this actually is easier to see and understand if we get a little bit more distance from it. And then you can see how these resemble each other. I call this a negative space puzzle because that's what the puzzle pieces are. That's a new art vocab term for you if you're not familiar with it. But in art, the negative space is the space in your artwork where the subject, the thing that is being depicted, is not. So all of these white spaces, which in the puzzle are the black spaces, is the negative space. And then, of course, the opposite of that, where the chair is, that's the positive space. But the concept of negative and positive space in art is not just useful in knowing what part of an image you're talking about. It is also extremely helpful in helping your brain to focus on the abstract qualities of what you're looking at instead of the things that you have preconceived notions of what they are and what they ought to look like. We tend to look at this and say this is a chair, despite the fact that, as we talked about with the treachery of images, this is not a chair. This is just black marks on a paper. But look at this, and you can't really easily label it. This is a shape. And because there aren't any other qualities or expectations about what this is, your brain more easily can focus on its shape, its qualities, and representing that accurately instead of trying to make it be a chair, which it is not. This is just shapes arranged in a certain manner that makes you think of a chair. So for the second part of this exercise, I want you to use the rectangle that we did the puzzle on and make a drawing based on the reference image. I want you to use the reference image depicting a chair and use that to draw the black shapes where the puzzle pieces were. So draw the shapes, outline them, and color them in, and so that your drawing looks like the completed puzzle, that it is black shapes within the empty rectangle. All right, so I have finished my negative space drawing. So let's take a minute to talk about what is going on here. I did my best while doing this drawing to not use tricks and techniques that I teach later in the class for getting the drawing to be fully accurate. Of course, since all of that knowledge is in my head, I couldn't just get rid of it entirely. So one thing I want to say here first is that if your drawing looks even more wonky than mine, that is totally normal at this stage. We will be going into ways to keep your drawings in proportion, etc. in later lessons. Right now, we are just trying to see the shapes. So if your drawing was successful at that and you were able to focus on that white space around the chair and do your best to draw those shapes accurately, you did the exercise right. So just like with the puzzle, when we're up close, it can be harder to see, but when we take a step back, get a little bit of distance to look at them, it's easier to see that this references this, that they resemble each other. Except, of course, there's something of a reversal here, that here the dark shapes resemble a chair, and here the dark shapes, it's just an arrangement of shapes. It just so happens that this specific arrangement of shapes, lines, and angles resembles a chair. And that is why negative space drawing is often one of the first exercises that a beginner's level drawing class will have you do. But I have not seen very many beginner's level drawing courses explain to you why it works. So I'm going to try and be very clear about that. Focusing on the negative spaces and drawing those instead of the positive space of the thing that you are drawing or depicting, it works because you don't have these preconceived notions in your head. You don't have these expectations of what this empty space is supposed to look like. Because there's not really a label for what it is that you're looking at, what you're drawing, instead of looking at that and saying, well, that's a chair. Your brain looks at that and says, well, that's a shape. And so you're not fighting your brain trying to get rid of the label and the expectations that come with the label. It is much easier to see empty space as its abstract qualities, as shapes and lines, colors, textures, abstraction, as we've said. And that is why it is so helpful to look at and draw the negative space.